Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game So tearing out a very exciting and very fun episode for you guys this evening because Exxistance just previewed some of the new work-in-progress translation for Segagaga. If you've never heard of that before, I wouldn't be surprised, but it's basically one of the last Dreamcast games ever made, and it is 100% a love letter to Sega and Dreamcast development. This game is so self-referential for the Sega Corporation and everything that went into their entire history. It is absolutely one of the strangest Dreamcast games out there. It is hyper charming, and it is absolutely chock full of Japanese text and dialogue. Even native speakers probably would get a little bit tripped up with all the text they need to read, because this thing is basically the final boss of Dreamcast translations. And that's down to the fact that it isn't just translating the script over, it's the fact that all of the text is actually kept in image files and isn't something that you can just kind of hex edit in. But Exxistance is definitely making some progress, so we're going to show you that today and kind of talk about what Segagaga actually is, because it is in reality one of the weirdest and most charming games ever to come out on Dreamcast. And you'll see here, there's so many different genres in here, so many different mini games. There's basically an entire RPG built in where you need to basically just become the best developer so that you can start making your own Sega games. You have to go through different floors of Sega development headquarters and basically win the right to develop your own game and try to get market share back from the evil corporation that's putting Sega out of business, which is definitely going to be PlayStation and Sony in this instance. You're going to see a lot of different Sony references here as well. This game is just straight up charming, straight up strange, and basically personifies what the Dreamcast truly was, an experimental console where developers could do kind of whatever they wanted to do. And you'll see here, if you actually want to understand what's going on in the game or even make progress, the amount of kanji characters on screen is absolutely massive, so only a native Japanese speaker is going to be able to understand everything. But Exxistance has come around and put some previews up and even tweeted out yesterday, as of the recording of this, that the entirety of Chapter 1 of Segagaga is now apparently translated. It is not out. I am using his footage from YouTube with credit down below, but hopefully sometime soon, even if we just have the first chapter of the game, this translation might be coming out soon, because again, this has long been thought to be the impossible translation, but if we know anything from the previous years, stuff that is impossible ends up happening. The Nintendo 64 Impossible Core on Mr. FPJ is something you can play today, and this game just absolutely has some of the best visual flair on the Sega Dreamcast. There's so much to see here. There's so many anime FMV cut sequences. There's so many different mini games, because basically this is after Sega had announced they're getting out of the hardware business and going to be a multi-platform publisher, so people were just kind of having fun still on the Dreamcast. And when I say the mini games are absolutely top-notch and diverse, I 100% mean it. There is an entire shmup built into this game with some light bullet hell mechanics where you're going to fight through the history of Sega home console hardware, and that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Segagaga. I have tried to play through this game multiple times, but every single time, even with modern translation tools like on your phone, I just completely get lost and have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing next. And that again is because this thing is language dense. It probably has one of the biggest scripts on any Dreamcast game that would need to be translated over, and it's one of those things people have been talking about a translation for absolutely forever, because we've gotten some amazing translations in 2024 and 2025, so it would be so much fun to keep the party going, and it seems like Exxistance is getting there. But it is going to be a massive project. Just having the first chapter complete is just a small chunk of the game, but I love actually fighting these sprites here from the first generation of Sega hardware. And again, the story is just all encompassing, and I've always wanted to understand what's going on in English, as of everyone else. This project has started and stopped with multiple different developers over the course of the Dreamcast history. Basically, this is one of the first translations I ever remember hearing about, and still to this day it's something we don't have. But considering we got Princess Crown in 2024, maybe 2025 is the year that we see Segagaga finally at least partially in English. It would be an absolutely massive win for the translation and preservation community, and Exxistance is doing an absolutely amazing job as to what you see so far. This is for my capture right here. This is what the game currently looks like, and in a moment I will show you the English. I'm going to let you listen to the soundtrack as well, because not only is Segagaga an insane game, it has a great soundtrack as well. So read some English, listen to some music, and I'll be right back with more.
ここで生み出される様々厳重な扉ですね。やっぱり怪しい人間が入って、あ、これ逆よ。外に出すゲーム開発というのはやっぱりちょっと特殊な職業だから、開発が次第に凶暴だったりして危険だから外に出すわけにはいかないけれど、いいゲームを作るためにはそうした知らなかった。
So you can see there's some of the text is now in English as of the demonstration video, and obviously the soundtrack, it's just so much fun. And that is the reality of this game too. Basically every single character, or at least main character, is going to have full voice acting as well for most of their lines. The amount of love and detail that was put into this game when it was first made is probably the densest Dreamcast game out there. And as we go back to the Japanese here, actually picking as to what you're trying to do becomes an impossibility. There's so many different menus and sub-menus, you can kind of poke around and have a little bit of fun with it, but I assure you, you are going to get completely lost when you actually try to get into the game, because there is a date and there is a time limit to basically make these games that are going to save the Dreamcast console and take back that market share. And it's one of those realities I'd love to actually make happen, even if it is just in a video game, because as a longtime Sega fan, the fact that the Dreamcast was the last piece of home hardware for Sega absolutely does bum me out. I always wanted to see Naomi 2 come home as Dreamcast 2. There's so many different strange things in this game as well. We can get Ryu's jacket here from Shenmue, and it costs us basically all the money we have, or we could have bought a bun with some sort of kanji on it. Still not sure what that says. If you know, leave me a comment down below. And this is just kind of, again, some of the cursory gameplay, but we can go directly into the RPG mode. You're going to be battling all of these weird different sketches, other characters of developers, even some just basic notes with simple kanji on them. You're not quite sure who any of the enemies are, but it is a ton of fun. And after you beat them, there is a mini game that basically seems to have trivia from Sega's history, and if you score high enough, it seems like you can bring these characters into your party. But again, I'm never 100% sure exactly what the gameplay is in Segagaga, because I can't understand the text enough to be able to actually parse what I'm doing. You just kind of bop around, you poke at things, you have fun, you see some crazy things, and you just move on from there. And Exxistance even put up on his Twitter, and I will leave it in the link below in the description, some of the text here, because now we know that's programmer who goes to Akihabara twice a week to buy stuff, so we kind of know he is one of those otakus. Or this lobster holding a Dreamcast here with some of the characters talking and even getting your stats on screen. This is all going to be massively pertinent information, including all of these characters you can talk to in the RPG area. They're all telling you something interesting and probably important, but obviously in Japanese there just isn't anything I can parse out of it. But I do love these character portraits. I love the mix of 3D and 2D and all of the texture and sprite work. It just absolutely is hilarious. It's charming, it's unique, and I just really want to know what's going on in the story, because why can't I go past that hallway? The guy just probably told me what I needed to do, but I would have to pick and poke my way through this game and this floor and just basically get lucky to try to actually be able to even see any more into the game. And that's why a lot of people who try to play this end up giving up, because it just becomes too difficult. And this enemy right here, just a note with a little bit of kanji on it. I have no idea what's going on, but I would love to know in English. And Exxistance has an imager site as well, where you can see some of the other clips here and some of the other translations going on, the market share and deadline, some of the stat pages, even some of the menus and everything else. But I'll give you one more soundtrack sample, because this game has a spectacular soundtrack, and I'll come back and show you more of this up stage as well. But enjoy. I mean, just absolutely awesome music, and I love this shmup stage as well, having to fight through all of the different hardware, because that Master System is going to turn into the Sega Genesis. It's going to get a Mega CD underneath it. It's going to become the Tower of Power with the Super 32X, or just 32X in North America on top of it. And this is why I really want to play Segagaga in English. It's Sega at its weirdest and most charming, and I love them for that. Because the Sega Dreamcast failed, they decided to make one more strange game before they went completely multi-platform, and Segagaga is it. And it was long in my second place spot for translations I wanted to get, with the first place spot being Princess Crown, but now that we have that, Segagaga moves up to the top slot, because as good as this game is without understanding everything, I'm pretty sure it's going to get even better when we can understand something. So hopefully soon we'll have some updates, maybe even a playable chapter 1. I'm just guessing, and honestly, don't bother the developer asking when it's going to be done. Let them have the time they need to work. If it's a month, if it's 6 months, if it's a year, we should be happy to get what we're getting when it does come out. But it's time to fight the Sega Saturn, the next ultimate boss DOS for Dreamcast hardware, and leave me a comment down below and tell me what your white whale translation is. But we're done, and I'll update when there are more updates to be had. Bye-bye.